What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today's video, my top 5 baits for the month of September. I always really enjoy trying to kind of slim down or scale down my arsenal for these videos. You know, top 5 baits. There are so many great baits that come to mind when I was picking baits for this video. So I went ahead and did categories, and then I have different baits depending on if you're in a clear water highland reservoir versus a delta system or a river system. But I have 5 categories of baits that will help you guys catch fish for the month of September. But I really enjoy trying to, you know, go through the different techniques, the different baits, and kind of slim it down for you guys. It's super challenging because typically I have anywhere from 5 to 15 rods, you know, rigged in the boat at all times, all the way from power fishing big baits all the way down to drop shot little baits, hair jigs, that sort of stuff. But September is a transitional month. You know, it's hard to do these videos with all the different regions in the country, right? Out west, up north, down south, southeast, down in Texas. You know, you have all these different things that kind of come into play, and you got different weather patterns, you got different environments and stuff. So I have different baits for each of you guys, and you guys can take this information and apply it to the type of fishery you're on and where you are in the country. So number 1, September is a transitional month. Like I said just a little bit ago, typically it's the start of that fall transition. You start having a little bit cooler nights. You have your water temps starting to kind of cool down, and that means that the bass activity, the bait fish activity starts to pick up. You know, summertime, August, it's hot, typically the hottest month of the year. You know, the fish are in grass and just kind of high water temps. They're kind of lethargic at times. September is the start of the change into fall when those fish get really aggressive again, and it's all about the bait fish. It doesn't matter if you're fishing a fishery that has baby bluegill or crappie or threadfin shad or gizzard shad, whatever the forage or the bait fish is, that's what you want to primarily mimic this time of the year. For me, it's topwater time. Doesn't matter if you're in the grass throwing a frog or if you're on an ultra clear highland reservoir chasing spots, blowing up on shad over 250 feet of water, you know, throwing something that mimics a bait fish. So for me, I like to start with topwater. So let's dive into there. So that's the first category, is topwater. Now I picked up the frog, so let's go ahead and talk about that first, and then we'll kind of go through these different baits here and then move down the line. Like I said, grass. A lot of times this time of the year, those bass are gonna be pushing the bait fish into the backs of creek arms, the backs of bays, back super shallow in the grass. So that is where the frog really comes into play. This is that bullywah 2. You guys know that we love that frog. It's more of a sparse grass open water frog, has a real good keel system on it. You can walk it really easily, great hooks on it. I like to throw some kind of chartreuse if the water's dirty or dingy. Lets those fish find that frog through the grass a little bit easier. And then on the flip side, this little guy right here, that's the Jackal Kayara. It's a finesse frog, quite a bit smaller, and this is a great frog. Again, if those bass are blowing up in the grass and they're chasing bait fish, this is a frog you guys need to be throwing. Now with that said, I made that little movement. Depending on where you are, you really want to throw baits that mimic or really are the same shape and size-ish of the fish, of the bait that those fish are chasing. You know, throwing a traditional 65 or 75 size frog when they're blowing up on inch bait, you're not gonna have nearly as many bites as you would downsizing and going with more of a finesse frog. So keep that in mind with all of these techniques. Next up, let's talk about open water topwater. I have walking baits and then I have poppers. So depending on the different types of fisheries, you know, some will work better than others, right? If you're in a highland reservoir, you're typically steeper, clear, not a lot of grass. You're not gonna be throwing a frog. You're gonna be probably throwing something like this. Either the, this is the shower blows, that's the 105, or that's the gunfish from Lucky Craft. But down here, I have a few different sizes for you. That's the gunfish 117. It's the shower blows 105. Gunfish 95. Shower blows 77. So you can actually throw a little small, tiny, I mean, here's a popper. That's the Pop Max from Megabass. You can throw a little tiny walking bait. The whole purpose that I have these 4 different sizes here is to match the bait fish size. That is really, really important this time of the year, guys. So this is the gunfish, shower blows, a little bit deeper, a little bit higher pitch, but again, I like throwing bait fish colors, either your ghost colors or your chrome colors. This color by Lucky Craft, that's called Bone Shad. It's kind of a combination bone with some flash on the side. But I really like throwing chrome. For me, chrome the last few years has been my #1 color, especially with a lot of sun, clear, you know, bluebird skies, lots of flash, lots of sound, and those fish just come up and grenade it. But depending on the type of fishery, choose one of these sizes of baits to match the hatch in your fishery. Now, last but not least, as far as topwater, you know, I could go down the whopper ploppers or the buzz baits or all that stuff. I went ahead and went with a popper. More of a target casting bait, you know, something like this, the gunfish, the 105, I mean the shower blows 105 or the gunfish, the 117. This time of the year, I literally have it rigged on my boat, bait ready to cast, hanging off the side of my boat, no matter what other technique I'm fishing, because as soon as those fish come up and start blowing up on bait, I drop my rod, I pick that up, fire it out there, make a good accurate cast, twitch, twitch, boom. I take advantage of those fish blowing up on those shad balls. So I always have this not only on the boat, but literally set up so I can drop the rod, pick this one up, cast and throw within seconds. This is more of my open water topwater. So I'm fishing around laydowns, I'm fishing open water, shad balls out in open water. I'm gonna do a more in-depth video here soon on pelagic fish spots, smallmouth, largemouth that are out there chasing bait balls in open water. That'll be a fun video. But the popper is gonna be more of your target casting bait. Something that doesn't move nearly as quick. You're gonna pick that laydown or that little piece of isolated cover, throw that popper in there, bloop, bloop, walk it, bloop, 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 pause, bloop. Really finessey, slow bait. If you can't get them on the walking bait, go with a popper. First category down, #2. This one I went back and forth with a few times and eventually decided on a chatterbait. Either the jackhammer or the little stealth blade with a little Largo shad on the back, little tiny original Z-Man chatterbait. The reason that I picked the chatterbait over a square bill, because I love to fish shallow this time of the year, is mainly grass. You know, when I'm fishing a square bill around grass, it could be a pain. September throughout the country, a lot of times you're going to start having your grass starting to die off, which opens it up to be able to use a square bill more often. But if you are around grass, the chatterbait just works super, super well. So that's why I picked it as my #2 category, the chatterbait. Right here, that's paired up with the Seiko, Yamamoto Seiko, fire craw color. This guy right here, little stealth blade, clear blade. That's paired up with the Largo shad. There's all different ways you can fish the chatterbait, again, you're gonna apply the same things that you did for the top water. You're gonna match the hatch, try to match the baitfish colors as much as possible. If you're on a crawdad lake, a crawdad fishery, obviously you can go with your oranges and your reds, but a chatterbait is just so easy to fish along the grass lines. You get hung up in the grass, you pop it, you let it go, let it fall down, rip it up through the grass. You can fish it, it's more versatile this time of the year, especially with that grass, and it just catches big ones. You know, having that vibration, no rattle, right? Hardly any sound, just that vibration down there. It just sounds a lot different than the guys that are throwing the lipless cranks and the square bills. So that guy right there is gonna be my number 2. If I have to downsize, or I feel, say I am in like a Highland Reservoir clear water, I can go with straight fluorocarbon with that stealth blade, little finesse swim bait on there, and I can still mimic the bait fish, the smaller bait fish, but I have that added vibration and just a little different presentation that those fish might be used to. Again, September can be tricky. You start doing that fall transition. You might have been on an epic frog bite, right? Now that grass is kind of starting to die down, maybe just a little bit. Those fish are gonna pull out of that grass, that dying grass, go to that livelier green grass. As that starts to die, they're gonna pull to hardcover, to rock. And we'll cover that in, you know, Where Do Bass Go in the fall transition. But this is a great bait that you can cover a lot of water. Fish this time of the year really starting to school up, finding those shad balls and schooling up, and you can cover a lot of water with that chatterbait and find where those active schools are. We'll do one more category that you can apply shallow, and then we'll talk 2 categories that can apply to your deep fish. Going back and forth on this video, like I said, there's so many different techniques, but it was really hard to not include some kind of swim bait or underspin. You know, here it is, it's rigged on the flashy swimmer, weedless, got that nice blade on there. Here it is rigged on that gamakatsu exposed hook for your open water, clear water fishing. But same thing, you're fishing around that grass with the chatterbait. If you want something a little less vibration, a little more flash, this guy right here, 4.3, 4.8 size Kitech. Again, it totally depends on your bait fish that you're trying to match. You can downsize to a 2.8 or a 3.3, or even the Largo Shad. That has been Matt and I's favorite for now the last several months. That thing has been out fishing a Kitech, and it's been really cool. Maybe it's because not a lot of guys throw it, but it works really well. But a weedless underspin, again, you can fish it the same areas that you can fish the chatterbait. You can actually fish it into the grass. You could skip docks, through your standing timber. You don't have to worry about getting hung up because you have this thing Texas rigged. But an underspin is a great way to target fish that are on those shad balls, right? You find those fish that are on the shad balls, adding that blade, adding that flash makes your bait stand out from the thousands of real bait fish. You know, you throw that bait in there, you start reeling it, kind of spook the shad ball, and then you're just slowly creeping that thing, and it's the dumb shad, right? And that entire ball, it's the one that's not running, it's just swimming stupid, and they just eat it. You open water, clear water fishermen, go with that exposed hook. I really like, this is that gamakatsu underspin. Obviously it's gamakatsu, great hooks, but exposed hook, it fits the little bit bigger Largo shads, and 3.8s and 4.3 size Kitech's a little bit better than, let's say, the Cool Baits does. We use the Cool Baits for the little 2.8. Just like every video, guys, I'll link all this stuff down below in the video description for you. But that guy right there, the benefit of having the exposed hook, typically clear water, deeper, you're using lighter line. You know, a lot of times those fish just hook themselves. You can throw this on a spinning rod, a bait caster, but you're fishing a main lake point. You got the shad ball out there, they might be blowing up on it. Maybe you've missed them on the top water. Now you're gonna go subsurface and throw something down there and just slow fish it through them. Again, matching the hatch, bait fish, an underspin is my number 3 pick. 2 more baits for you. The last one's kind of, you know, might turn some heads a little bit, but I have a ton of confidence in it. But let's talk about a crankbait real quick. You know, how do you talk about a transitional fall video without talking about some kind of medium to deep diving crankbait? Now, I almost put a square bill in here instead of the chatterbait. I already explained why I didn't, but you can't leave home without some kind of deep diving crankbait, medium diving crankbait in September. You know, fishing that 12 to 18 foot range, that transitional range. Maybe those fish are pulling out of the backs, off the bait ball. They're pulling for that first, you know, that grass is dying back. They're gonna pull to the creek channel, or they're gonna pull to that first hard cover on, let's say, a ledge or a break. You know, they will school up there, and you can get well in a hurry throwing a deep diving crankbait. This is the 6XD, also the Tactical, the DD crank. Those are probably my two favorite, but you cannot leave home without a deep diving crankbait. I'll link some of my favorites, my favorite colors down below in the video description. And then last but not least, talking about those deep fish, you have to have, or you should have, some kind of spoon. Right here we have a jigging spoon and we have a flutter spoon. Now let me explain the difference. A jigging spoon, typically you're over the fish vertically. You know, you're video game fishing, you're using your 2D sonar on your electronics, you found a bait ball in, let's say, 25 to 40 foot, you got a bunch of arches underneath it, you're gonna drop this spoon down to the depth of it and just let it fall on semi-tight line, taut line, hop, let it fall, you go to hop, and there they are. A jigging spoon works really well all the way through fall, especially into the colder months. But start thinking about, this is the Dust Spoon by Blade Runner, Morning Dawn, UV. That is a really cool way to catch them when they are schooled up deep. Now on the flip side, Flutter Spoon. This is actually Nichols Flutter Spoon. That is a 6'5", that's a 5-inch bait. Pretty bait. This is gonna be more of your slow falling spoon. So say you're fishing that edge of the creek channel or the break or the hump, wherever those fish are schooled up, fire this spoon out, make a nice long cast like you would with a crankbait, let it fall. Reel down, hop, let it fall. Just kind of walk it down with that rod tip. And what this is doing, it is falling like a dying or wounded bait fish. And believe it or not, bass absolutely choke these. So crankbait, a spoon, some type of spoon needs to be in your arsenal, and they will be there through the winter time. You know, you might shelf this and you have more luck with the jigging spoon, but you need to have some kind of spoon in your lineup, and that's why I added it to my top 5. Now, it was really hard to do this video without talking about a jerkbait or a soft plastic jerkbait like a Fluke. If you're one of those guys that's fishing around grass with that underspin, go ahead and leave the deep crank at home, leave the spoon at home, bring a Fluke. So I'm actually gonna add that as my number 6. But that soft plastic jerkbait, either working it really fast on top like you would a topwater, getting that thing diving and skipping and jumping and hopping all over the surface like a fleeing bait fish, or cast it out there, flip it out there in the holes in the grass, let it fall, rip, let it fall like a dying bait fish, kind of like you would with the spoon, but it's weedless, and you guys will catch a lot of fish too if you're fishing around grass. Guys, let me hear your thoughts. I want to know what your top 5 baits, or your, let's leave 1 or 2 baits in the comment section. I want to know what your confidence baits are through this transition period into fall. Really curious to what you guys have confidence in. If you guys like this video, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys on the next video.